So my question is, how do we engage with a culture that promotes so much promiscuity and encourages us young people to go out and be promiscuous, but then they hate on marrying young and they say, how can you make such a decision when you're so young? How do we deal with that?
I'd say not caring what other people think. Like there's a lot of people who don't really care either way. I think, especially with social media, it makes it seem like a huge number of people feel a certain way. I'd say a lot of the country is either pro some form of traditional marriage, or at least pro relationships, like committed relationships. But the loudest people are always the people who are extreme on both ends. And so I think that's the problem, is it seems like the whole world is screaming you down. It might seem more elevated in college, because college is a place people are told just to go, have fun, do what you want, then settle down afterwards. Ultimately, doing something different, and unfortunately being conservative is often different in some of these environments, will always be difficult. Anything you do that sets you aside is always going to leave you open for criticism or people making fun or people bullying you. Ultimately, as adults, the power there is to not care. The second you realize that their opinion doesn't matter, it's very freeing. And I think it's not trying to expect the world to think something of you. I think if you're living a moral life and making moral decisions that are justifiable, that's not me just saying do what you want, screw the world. But if you're making moral decisions, I don't really care what a bunch of people in LA think about those decisions. And I don't think anyone here should too.
Certainly. And what's a good way to help encourage those same people who are going out and being promiscuous to turn away from that way of life and to go pursue a serious relationship and get married? What's a piece of advice for us on trying to share that with others?
Yeah. I think it's hard because a lot of people almost have to hit rock bottom with that lifestyle to actually realize something's wrong. There's either two ways people do it. One, they do ungodly number of things and then suddenly they hit 40 and they decide to settle down and act like they didn't live a certain way. Or people have just a sudden moment of reckoning where they realize they're on the right track, or on the wrong track rather. I think the best way to do it without being almost a helicopter friend is just to try and show an example. Because ultimately you'll be happier for it. They'll see you think, oh, they're happy. What am I doing wrong? You're not responsible for everyone around you, and it's very hard to change everyone. People are going to make mistakes, especially when they're just approaching even things like sex so differently. It's very hard to convince someone that they might be wrong. But a good way of doing it almost passively is to show an example and show that you can be happier doing it. I think quite often people who are very promiscuous look at other people who maybe are celibate or in a relationship with one committed person or married or any of these things. They almost look down on them as, oh, they must be miserable. It's almost always the opposite. And so I think if you can actually show them that, or you introduce them to people who can show them that, that's a huge wake-up moment for them, I think, or at least it can be.
Thank you.
Thank you.